I never thought I'd hear the words, no kissing, no hugging, no touch, from the woman I built my life around. But there they were, spoken over a quiet dinner, her eyes fixed on her phone instead of me. My name's Daniel, I'm 38, and I work as a systems analyst in Denver. For almost 9 years, I've been married to Claire. We met when we were broke but hopeful, surviving on coffee and dreams. Back then, affection wasn't planned. It just happened naturally. But love doesn't vanish overnight. It fades slowly, piece by piece, like rust creeping beneath paint. It started with shorter hugs, colder goodbyes, and her phone always face down. At first, I told myself it was stress, her new job, long hours, exhaustion. But excuses turned into habits, and habits became distance. One Friday night, while I was cooking dinner, she came home, dropped her purse on the counter, and said, "We need to talk." Every man who's loved knows that line never leads to anything good. I turned off the stove and waited. "I just need space," she said. "I don't feel affectionate right now. No kissing, no hugging, no touch." I actually laughed, thinking she was joking, but her expression stayed cold. "So, what do you mean?" I asked carefully. "I just want boundaries. Physical ones. I need to feel like I have control again." Control. The word hit harder than she realized. I nodded slowly, even though it felt like my chest was collapsing. "All right," I said, "if that's what you need." But inside, something cracked. That night, we shared a bed, but might as well have been miles apart. She scrolled through her phone until midnight while I stared at the ceiling, wondering when the switch had flipped. The next morning, she woke up, got ready, and left no kiss, no smile, no touch. A week passed, then another. Her boundaries became the new normal. I still paid the rent, bought groceries, covered bills like always. But one evening, sitting at the table surrounded by takeout boxes, something inside me finally shifted. If her affection came with conditions, so would my support. The next day, when she walked into the kitchen, I was sipping coffee beside the rent envelope. "Hey," I said calmly. "I've been thinking. You said no kissing, no hugging, no touch. That's fine, your choice. But in that same spirit, no rent, no bills, no food. Fair." Her eyes snapped up. "What? Are you serious?" "As serious as you were that night," I replied evenly. "If you want emotional distance, I'll match it with practical distance." She crossed her arms. "That's petty, Daniel." "No," I said softly. "That's balance." For the first time in weeks, she didn't have a response. She just stood there, unsure if I meant it. I did. I wasn't angry, just tired of carrying a one-sided marriage. That evening, she cooked her own meal for the first time in months. I watched as she fumbled with ingredients, like a guest in her own kitchen. It wasn't about revenge. It was about fairness. 2 nights later, she asked, "You really plan on doing this?" "Doing what?" "Acting like roommates?" "I'm just respecting your boundaries," I said, not looking up from the TV. "You're being manipulative." "No." "You drew the line. I'm just staying on my side of it." For the next week, we lived like polite strangers. Quiet, distant, separate. I paid my part. She paid hers. And for once, the silence wasn't hers to control. But silence echoes, and soon, it started haunting her more than me. By the second week, the tension in our home was thick, almost tangible. We ate separately, spoke little, and coexisted like ghosts under the same roof. Sometimes I caught her watching me, confusion in her eyes, maybe regret, but I didn't give her the reaction she was used to. No pleading, no confrontation. Just the distance she'd asked for. One evening, I found her sitting at the kitchen table, half a glass of wine before her. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. "Sure," I said, sitting down. "I feel like you're trying to punish me," she began. "I just needed time, Daniel. I wasn't pushing you away forever." "You didn't push me away forever," I said quietly. "You just made me realize how far I'd already been pushed." She frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I kept showing up even when you didn't. I carried the bills, the love, the effort, alone. You built a wall, and called it space. And I stood outside it for too long. Her eyes fell to the table. I didn't think you'd actually stop caring. That's the thing, I said. I didn't stop caring. I just stopped begging to matter. Silence followed, the kind that says more than words ever could. Finally, she whispered, I don't want us to end like this. Then tell me, I said gently. What do you want? Because if it's distance, you have it. If it's partnership, it has to go both ways. She hesitated. I don't know. And that was the real problem. I stood up. Until you do, I'll stay in my lane. Then I walked away, leaving her alone with her thoughts. Days passed. She started leaving small gestures, a cup of coffee, her sweater on my chair, quiet good nights. But I didn't take the bait. Affection isn't a trade. It's not something you offer when it's convenient. A few nights later, I found a note on the counter. I miss you. I don't even know when I stopped showing it. Can we start over? I read it twice before setting it down. The old me would have rushed to her, grateful for crumbs of affection. But I'd learned something in the silence. Love without respect is just dependency pretending to be devotion. When she came home, nervous and quiet, I said, I got your note. And I appreciate it. But if we start over, it can't be the same. I'm not carrying this alone anymore. Tears filled her eyes. I understand, she whispered, her voice sincere for the first time in months. We talked for hours, not about blame, but about patterns. About how easy it is to take comfort for granted. She admitted she'd shut down from stress. I admitted I'd allowed it by never setting boundaries. By midnight, we weren't fixed, but something real had shifted. When I walked her to bed, she paused. Can I hug you? She asked softly. I hesitated, then nodded. It wasn't long or passionate, but it was honest. And that meant something. The next morning, I made coffee and stood by the window, watching light spill across the kitchen. I didn't know if we'd rebuild or drift apart. But for the first time in a long while, I felt peace because I finally understood. Love isn't proven by how much you give. It's proven by what you stop accepting. As sunlight touched the counter, and the same rent envelope still sitting there, I smiled. Some lessons don't need to be loud.